think of each block in a blockchain as a domino in a row of dominoes. And now ask yourself the question, well, how hard is it to figure out if I have, let's say, trillions of dominoes lined up, in order? How hard is it to answer the question whether a single one of them was knocked down? And by the way, how hard is it to figure out which one was knocked down? Which one was the first one knocked down? Well, that's kind of trivial, right? Because as in that picture you see, when you knock over one domino, you knock over every subsequent domino. So to check whether any domino has been knocked over, all you have to do is check the very last domino, which means you really only have to look in one place. And by the way, if you wanted to find which one was the first one that was knocked over, well, you can do a binary search and you pretty quickly get to the answer, right? So the question of figuring out which domino has been knocked over, or whether a domino has been knocked over, is pretty obvious. And by the same token, this analogy hopefully conveys that if you were asking you whether, for example, there was a discrepancy across the hedge fund and the investment bank in terms of what they were recording, it's not all that hard to figure out whether there is. And in particular, it's not all that hard to figure out whether information on the blockchain has been tampered with. Why is that? Well, because if you come back here, if I were to change a piece of information, say on block 2, let's say I change a transaction, block 2's transaction, well, that's going to affect the Merkle root that sits on block 2, and it's therefore going to affect the hash of block 2's header. But it's not just going to affect the hash of block 2's header. The hash of block 2's header sits on block 3, and therefore it'll affect the hash of block 3's header. And it will affect essentially any other block thereafter because of this cascade and affecting the hashes of the block headers. So it's very easy to detect data tampering in this sort of when you're using a blockchain.